Everyone, so welcome to GP Academia. So in this lecture, I will discuss convolution in Taglish, Tagalog in English. And let's start first by defining convolution. Yung convolution, integral lang yan na kinukuha mo yung amount of overlap ng isang function kapag shinif mo siya over another function. So parang pinagpapatong mo lang yung dalawang functions, then kinukuha mo yung overlap nila. And if you know the input, let's say, and you know the impulse response of your system. So, kung alam mo itong dalawa, yan, then kaya mong i-compute yung output ng system mo ng LTI or linear time invariant system mo using convolution. Note that kapag sinabi nating impulse response function or IRF, ito lang yung output ng system mo kapag nagbigay tayo ng very short input signal sa kanya or yung impulse nga na tinatawag. And sa lecture na to, papakita ko rin ito. So, ito yung convolution integral natin tinatawag. So this is our output and this is equal to the integral from negative infinity to positive infinity of your impulse response. So each of tau, certain variable. Then we have this f x minus tau d tau. And this is our convolution integral. We can also express your convolution operation in terms of this. So this is our input. Ito yung impulse response natin, or kung 2D to, let's say sa imaging, then minsan natawag nila ay convolution kernel kapag gusto mo mag-extract ng certain features. And this is your convolution operation. Ngayon, balikan natin yung ating convolution integral. So ito siya. Yung basic step ng convolution ay ganito. Una, evaluate mo muna to or gawin mo muna tong function na to. Actually, nangyari dito ay nag-flip muna siya. Flip, tapos isi-shift mo siya by a certain amount x. Yun, papakita ko siya later. Then, we have this impulse response in terms of tau. So, ang gagawin mo, multiply mo muna yan. Multiply mo itong dalawang function mo. Then, i-evaluate mo yung integral. So, ganun yung step. Ano itsura niya graphically? Mag-start muna tayo dito sa input function natin na f. So, meron tayong f of tau, let's say, at ito siya originally. So, 0 to 2, yung length niya along the tau. So, pwedeng time variable to or pwedeng space variable din. Then, we have this amplitude 1. So, ang gawin mo, change mo yung tau to negative tau. So, essentially, nangyayari, nag-flip ka lang. Flip mo lang siya sa or along this vertical axis. Mangyayari, ito. So, magiging negative 2, 0 siya. And this is your function f negative tau. So, next step is to change tau to tau minus x. Nangyayari dito, nagkakaroon tayo ng shifting na tinatawag. I-shift mo siya by a certain amount x for this case. So, makikita mo, yung 0 natin kanina, naging x lang yan. Then, yung 2, yung minus 2 rito, naging x minus 2 siya after natin siyang i-shift. Of course, yung amplitude niya, hindi na magbabago. Okay, so we have this expression na for our input function f. After natin siya i-flip, then after natin siya i-shift by a certain variable x. And we will assume na yung x dito ay constant kasi nag-integrate tayo with respect to tau. Ngayon, ang next step ay to graph the impulse response function h. For this example, let's say mas manipis siya, so 0, 1 yung length along the tau ng ating impulse response function, then may amplitude siya na 2. So mas malaki siya or mas matangkad kung ikukumpara natin sa impulse or sa input function natin. So next step is to get the product or multiply these two functions. Then you will get something like this. So 2 na to in terms of amplitude after the multiplication process. Then we will have this value along the tau after we multiply these two functions. Then the next step is to get the integral of this product to get the output function. So ito yung summary. So step niya, flip, shift, multiply, then integrate or add mo sila. Now, let's have this example. So we have this input function given. Then we have this impulse response function. So may dalawa tayong function na parehas lang silang square pulse. Mas mahaba lang, tsaka mas malaki din yung amplitude ni ating or ng ating impulse response function. Ngayon, first step is to graph. So graph mo muna, mag-start muna tayo sa input function f natin. Change mo muna yung variable to tau. So we have this dummy variable tau. So still, same pa rin naman yung graph niya initially. The next step is to flip. Flip mo siya by getting the negative tau. So mag-reflect lang siya as you can see, or mag-flip lang siya relative to this vertical axis. Then, isi-shift mo siya by a certain constant, or yeah, by a certain x, this one. So this x, mangyayari lang, yung 0 mo rito ay magiging x. Then yung negative 1 ay magiging x minus 1 after natin i-apply itong shifting na to. Okay, so after natin makuha yung ating input function na na-flip at na-shift shown, we can now draw also the impulse response function now in terms of the variable tau. Then, ang mangyayari, ito yung magiging moving, let's say, yung moving signal. So, itatranslate natin siya, then titingnan natin yung overlap niya relative to this impulse response function. So, for case A, for the value of x is less than 0, so we have this case, then yung ating input function ay nasa left side pa ng ating impulse response function. And therefore, we expect na wala silang overlap kasi nga nasa left side pa itong part na to ng signal. And therefore, the product and the integral is equal to 0. So next, for the case of 0, when your x is in between 0 and 1, so we expect na may overlap na tayo for this case, as shown here, dahil itong x na to ay nasa pagitan na 0 na to and 1. So somewhere here. Pero hindi pa fully nakapasok yung buong signal natin. And therefore, we can have this integration wherein the output is equal to 2x. So we have this third case. Third case, yung x natin ay in between 1 and 2. And therefore, this signal, yung input signal natin, ay nasa gitna na or in between na ng ating impulse response function. And therefore, we expect that there is an overlap that looks like this. Okay, with this boundary. So x minus 1, x. Then this is the product of their overlap. And therefore, we can get the output or the integral of this by evaluating this from x minus 1. So this part up to x. Then yung product lang ng amplitude nila. So 1 and 2 along this dummy variable d tau. So evaluate this simple integral, then you will get a value of 2. Okay, so now we have this fourth case. So still, yung input sa impulse response function lang to. Then for the case of x na in between ng 2 at 3. So therefore, we expect na may overlap pa rin given na yung x mo at this part ay nakalagpas na ng 2. Pero, itong part na to, yung x minus 1, sabihin natin yung value ng x mo ay nasa 2 to 2.5. So, in-expect natin na nasa between 1 to 2 siya. Kasi so, kung 2.5 yun, so yung value nito ay 1.5. So, somewhere here, sabihin natin. And therefore, yung overlap na yun corresponds to this drawing. And we can evaluate this integral from x minus 1 to 2. So, itong dalawang to, yung boundary ng overlap. And this refers to the magnitude lang or yung amplitude ng signal. Then, after you evaluate this one, you will get 6 minus 2x. And for the fifth case, yung case E natin, so when x is greater than 3, so beyond na yon, or nasa pinaka-right na siya ng ating impulse response function, and therefore, wala na tayong overlap na mo observe. So, this product or yung integral din ay equal lang sa 0. Okay, so we have this summary And for each case, then ito yung mga nakuha natin kanina sa integral natin. When your x is less than 0, so wala tayong overlap as observable sa ating graph. So this is our response versus x na graph. Then between 0 and 1, yung itsura ng output natin ay 2x, which is just a line na may positive slope at 0 intercept. And kapag 1, yung x mo, of course, yung value na output mo ay 2 lang. And then between 1 and 2, yung output natin ay constant lang, which is 2. So that's why flat lang siya. Between 2 and 3, we have this output na line din, pero negative yung slope. So negative 2 yung slope natin. Pababa hanggang 3. So pagdating ng 3, obviously, yung value nito ay 0 na. And beyond 3, wala na tayong overlap. And yun. So this is an intuitive way or graphical way ng convolution operation. And ito yung GIF file showing the real time kung ano ba nangyayari sa convolution. So may function ka na blue. Ito yung stationary function. Then you have this moving function in red. So habang gumagalaw siya, habang nagtatranslate, kinukuha natin yung amount of overlap. Kaya may area under the curve. Then itong ano na to, yung black na na-form. Ito yung output ng convolution natin na nakuha rin naman natin kanina for 2 box signals. Yun. Given na si convolution ay it's just an integral of the overlap of the two functions. And that's it for this lecture.